the San Francisco 49ers, they have made a decision to bring back Jimmy G. So Jimmy Garoppolo, he agreed to a restructured one-year contract to remain with the San Francisco 49ers. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter the new deal is worth $6.5 million in base salary with performance incentives that could lift his earnings to nearly $16 million in 2022, according to Adam Schefter. The contract also includes a no-trade clause and a no-tag clause, ensuring the veteran passer can hit free agency in 2023. Now, the 49ers, they can still trade Jimmy G at some point in the season, but it's going to be at his discretion. He has to approve of that particular trade. So my initial reaction to the 49ers bringing back Jimmy Garoppolo is it's obvious they don't believe in Trey Lance. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're John Lynch, you have to be able to make these tough decisions. And they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo because they wanted to have some insurance at the quarterback position. But it's proof that they don't believe Trey Lance. And if I'm Trey Lance, today I am feeling some type of way towards the San Francisco 49ers organization because it's my opportunity to lead this team as the number one quarterback on the team. It's my football team now, and you decide to bring back Jimmy G? So if I'm Trey Lance, I am feeling some type of way because it's showing me that you do not believe in me. And with these decisions, you have to make the tough decisions for better or for worse. When the Green Bay Packers transitioned from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, the Packers organization, they made a decision that it was going to be Aaron Rodgers' football team. And the fact of the matter is, they traded Brett Favre so they can give Aaron Rodgers the confidence that he needed to lead the Packers football team because it was his team at that point moving forward. And John Lynch, the general manager for the 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, they have not given Trey Lance the confidence that he needs to be the number one quarterback on this roster and to lead this team. They showed him by bringing back Jimmy G, they're not fully committed to him. They're not fully committed to Trey Lance. If they was fully committed to Trey Lance, they would have either released Jimmy G or they would have tried to find a partner to trade him to another team. But here's the thing. No one else wanted Jimmy G. His trade value was low because most people don't believe in Jimmy G. And I'm going to get to him in a minute. But again, this is clear evidence that the San Francisco 49ers do not believe in Trey Lance, and they have not made a full commitment to Trey Lance being their star quarterback moving forward. He's not the quarterback of the future. He's the someone that they're trying to see how good he is, and they're hoping that he's good so they can feel good about their draft selection. But at this point, they're not giving Trey Lance the confidence that he's the quarterback of the future moving forward. Now, also for Trey Lance, every time Trey Lance makes a mistake this season, he's going to have to look over his shoulder and wonder if they will put Jimmy G back into the starting lineup. That's not going to help his confidence. That's not going to help his confidence with Jimmy Garoppolo still being on the roster. He's always going to think during the course of games, if I make a mistake, there's a possibility that I could get benched and not get another chance to lead this team to the promised land. This is a lose-lose situation for Trey Lance all the way around. This is like one of those situations where you break up with your ex. You kick them out of your house. You move your new partner into your house, and then you decide to move your ex back in the same house that you originally kicked them out of, and you got them in the same house as your new partner, is not going to work. You have to prioritize your young quarterback in Trey Lance so he can have the confidence moving forward, progress into being a reliable franchise quarterback. And I think the 49ers organization, they showed Trey Lance that they are not fully committed to Trey Lance. And if Trey Lance has a rough few games, they will not hesitate to insert Jimmy Garoppolo as a starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, I know Jimmy G has a great winning percentage as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo, for his career, he's 33-14, so he's won 70% of his games. This is with the likes of Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Roger Staubach, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. This is in the Super Bowl era, best winning percentages as a starting quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is on this list. But the reason why the San Francisco 49ers have been true Super Bowl contenders is not because of Jimmy Garoppolo. It's been in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. This is the same Jimmy Garoppolo that was on the open market, and not one team decided to trade for Jimmy G. You would have thought that maybe Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks would have tried to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo to improve their quarterback position. Didn't happen. You would have thought that the Cleveland Browns, knowing that Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for the first 11 games of the season, would have traded for Jimmy Garoppolo because they have a Super Bowl caliber roster that's ready to win now. But the reason why teams did not trade for Jimmy Garoppolo is because Jimmy G is not very good. I've been saying this for years. Jimmy Garoppolo, at this point in his career, is a backup quarterback. He's a backup quarterback. And I was on record saying that it would have been a mistake for the Cleveland Browns to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo because you're not going to improve your team significantly with Jimmy G at the helm compared to Jacoby Brissett. You're not going to improve your team significantly. So you might as well hold on to Jacoby Brissett, hold on to those draft picks, and wait till Deshaun Watson comes back. Because Jimmy G ain't it. The 49ers won games in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo, not because of Jimmy Garoppolo. This is the same Jimmy G who has been to multiple NFC Championship games in his career. He also has a Super Bowl appearance on his resume. And in that Super Bowl appearance, for the first three quarters of that game, the 49ers outplayed the Chiefs. Going into that fourth quarter, the 49ers, they led the Chiefs 20-10. You got a 10-point lead of the Super Bowl going into the fourth quarter. You have to close that deal. And Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't able to close that deal because Jimmy Garoppolo is not that guy. We have to quit trying to pretend that because he has this outstanding quarterback record, like he's some formidable quarterback. There are multiple quarterbacks that I would take over Jimmy Garoppolo that aren't even elite. I'm just talking about the average quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Ryan Tannehill is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Baker Mayfield is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. There are so many quarterbacks that are better than Jimmy G. And I'm not saying Jimmy G doesn't deserve to be in the NFL, but he's not a starter in the NFL. And I think people have gotten confused about how good Jimmy Garoppolo really is because of his great record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. but it's a team game. It's a team game. And there have been times where I have watched the 49ers and I would look at that defense led by Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. And I would look at offensively them having one of the best tight ends in the NFL in George Kittle, having great running backs like Raheem Mostert, in the backfield. That was running back by committee. They had some nice running backs in that system. I'm not saying they're great players. They're great in that Kyle Shanahan system. And Deebo Samuel. I've seen so many different players. And then even their head coach, Kyle Shanahan, who I mentioned before I get to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I look at the 49ers, I think about Fred Warner. I think about Nick Bosa. I think about Deebo Samuel. I think about George Kittle. I think about Kyle Shanahan, the great head coach / play caller that he is, before I even get to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mentioned earlier about his shortcomings in a Super Bowl a few years ago. Last year, in the NFC Championship game, going into the fourth quarter of that game, the 49ers, they had a 17-7 lead in that game. And they lost that game 20-17. Rams outscored the 49ers 13-0 in the fourth quarter because Matthew Stafford proved why he is a top 10 quarterback, and Jimmy G proved once again why he's a game manager at best. So, again, I'm not high on Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think this was a bad decision by the 49ers bringing back Jimmy G because it doesn't show a full commitment to Trey Lance. Everybody go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Now, I want to talk about Trey Lance and my expectations for Trey Lance this upcoming season. Now that he's going to be the starting quarterback in San Francisco, even though Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be backing him up, Trey Lance is going to be the starter week 1 against the Bears. I believe the 49ers have a Super Bowl caliber roster that's ready to win right now. When I look at the 49ers in the NFC West, I think the only team that's better than the 49ers right now are the defending Super Bowl champs, and that's the LA Rams. That's the only team I could say definitively that's better than the 49ers in the NFC West right now. And then you look at the NFC South. Tampa Bay, I would say right now they're slightly better than the 49ers because they have the advantage at quarterback with Tom Brady. So the Buccaneers and Rams are both better than the 49ers right now, but no one else in the NFC South I would consider right now to be better than the 49ers. You go to the NFC North. I think the Packers are the best team in that division, but in the playoffs, the 49ers, they have the Packers number. For whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they can't beat the San Francisco 49ers in the postseason. They can't beat them in the postseason. So I can't say that the Packers are better than the 49ers right now. Dan sure can't say the Vikings are better than the 49ers right now. Bears and Lions, don't get me started with those two teams. NFC East, I would take the 49ers over all 4 of those teams in the NFC East. All 4 of them. 49ers are better than the Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, and Giants. So I think the 49ers are a top 5 team in the NFC. And I think if Trey Lance is good, not even great, just good like a Kirk Cousins good or like a Ryan Tannehill good, the San Francisco 49ers could win the Super Bowl this year. You still got Deebo Samuel, who they signed to a big-time deal. You got George Kittle, got one of the best coaches in the NFL in Kyle Shanahan. You got Nick Bosa, Fred Warner defensively. 49ers are a top 5 team in the NFC today, even with Trey Lance at quarterback. If Trey Lance is any good, 49ers could be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.